Saint Nocturne University. Chapter 2. By Sunday morning, the south bathroom mirror had its own security detail. Not campus police. Not student workers. Not the useless kind of guard who checked IDs and pretended not to know who was sneaking liquor into Magnolia Hall. The university had placed 2 statues outside the bathroom door. They had not been there the night before. They were stone women in long robes, each holding a bowl of carved flames. Their faces were blank, smooth where eyes and mouths should have been, but every time someone got too close to the bathroom, their heads turned. Not quickly. That was the problem. Slowly. With interest. A freshman from Howl House dared his roommate to touch the bathroom door at 8 in the morning. By 8:03, he was sprinting across the courtyard with both shoes untied, crying that one of the statues had whispered his grandmother's full name. By 8:10, the shade room below had posted the video. South bathroom update: University installed faceless aunties. Touch the door if you want your bloodline read for filth. The comments were already a war zone. Some people said the mirror should be destroyed. Some said it should be questioned. Some wanted to know whether the face shame statues could be booked for family reunions. By 9, a student had started selling t-shirts outside the student union that read, "I survived the blood moon mixer and all I got was this trauma." He sold out before brunch. Zora Baptiste saw the shirts through the window of the campus cafe and decided Saint Nocturne was beyond saving. The cafe, officially called the Lazarus Grind, was packed with students pretending they had come for coffee and not for gossip. The air smelled like espresso, cinnamon, burnt sugar, and panic. Every table had at least one person leaning in too close, whispering too loudly, or replaying the same blurry videos from the night before. A blood court girl cried quietly into an iced matcha while her friends argued over whether visible bite marks counted as a relationship announcement. 2 root circle boys sat in the corner comparing screenshots of the mirror's black glass message and nearly came to blows over whether Nightingale file active had been written in a dead dialect or just ugly cursive. A Howl House freshman stood near the pastry case, looking haunted, while his friend repeated, "Bro," the jacket growled at him. "I heard it. That jacket had bass." Zora sat in the back booth with a cup of coffee she had not touched and the gold sun bracelet on the table in front of her. It looked innocent now. That annoyed her. The bracelet had embarrassed Talia, exposed Caleb, flown across a courtyard, and landed in Zora's palm like it paid rent there. Now it sat under the cafe lights pretending to be regular jewelry. 7 Monroe slid into the booth across from her wearing yesterday's sunglasses and a fresh expression of doom. "Do you have the mirror audio?" he asked. Zora did not look up from the bracelet. "Good morning to you too." "It's not good." "That sounds personal." "Zora." She finally looked at him. He had tried to dress like he was unbothered, but his jacket was buttoned wrong, and one of his cuffs was inside out. 7's entire aesthetic relied on looking like he had planned everything. When the details slipped, it meant he had not slept. She pushed her untouched coffee toward him. He took it without comment. "You heard what the mirror said," he said. The whole campus heard what the mirror said. "Nightingale file active." And then the dean looked at you like he was trying to decide whether your bones were worth paperwork. 7 drank the coffee. Winced. "No sugar." "You looked like you needed punishment." "I need archive access." "You always need archive access. That's your personality." "This is different." "It's always different." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "The Nightingale file is not supposed to exist." Zora stared at him. You know what it is? No. 7. I know what people say it is. And people are. He glanced around the cafe. Older students. Expelled students. One librarian who drank too much at a faculty retirement party and told me the university keeps a sealed file on every bloodline incident that could threaten the founding pact. Zora's face changed before she could stop it. Founding pact, she repeated. 7 nodded. Vampires, wolves, root circle, Veilborn. The original families that built Saint Nocturne. Supposedly, anytime something happens that crosses faction law, it goes into a file nobody can access unless the school itself opens it. The school itself. Yes. As in the building. As in the living cursed institution we attend because apparently financial aid hates peace. Zora looked back down at the bracelet. The sun charm flickered once. 7 noticed. That thing is still active. It shouldn't be. Did Caleb buy it from Micah? No. Caleb said his aunt gave it to him. Does Caleb have an aunt? Zora paused. Then she took out her phone. 7 watched her type with the efficient rage of a woman about to ruin someone's morning. You're asking him. I'm asking Talia. 7's eyebrows lifted. Growth. I'm asking because if I ask Caleb, he will lie in full paragraphs. A response came almost immediately. Talia, why are you texting me? Zora, who gave Caleb the bracelet. Talia, I thought you gave it to him. Zora stared at the message. 7 slowly placed the coffee down. Zora typed again. Zora, he told me his aunt gave it to him. Talia, he told me you gave it to him and said it was okay for me to have because you were past material attachments. 7 sat back. That man is brave. Zora's smile returned. It was worse than anger. Talia sent another message. Talia, Zora, I'm not playing. Is this thing cursed? My wrist still feels warm. Zora looked at the bracelet. The charm glowed. Not bright. Hungry. 7 whispered, that's not a regular relationship charm. No, Zora said. It's not. Across campus, Caleb Mercer was learning that lying to 2 women in the same dorm was safer than lying to a bracelet in a school full of witches. He had been trying to disappear into the back row of the student union lounge since breakfast, wearing a hoodie pulled low and sunglasses he had no right to own. It did not help. People kept recognizing him. A girl from his sociology class walked by and coughed, "Recycle King." A blood court boy saluted him with 2 fingers and said, "Sustainable dating." Respect. Someone had taped a printed screenshot to the vending machine. It showed the ghostly projection from the night before, Caleb giving Zora the bracelet, then placing it on Talia's wrist. Underneath, someone had written, "Reduce. Reuse. Rebound." Caleb ripped it down. Another one was underneath. He stared at it. "That's actually crazy," he muttered. Dre Coleman, restocking chips beside him, did not look up. "What is?" "People printing stuff." Dre slid a row of hot chips into place. "That's where you draw the line." Caleb turned. "Do I know you? You bought a turkey sandwich from me Tuesday and asked if we had vampire-safe mayo. That was a real question." "No, it wasn't." Caleb opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked around the lounge as if searching for rescue. Rescue did not come. Saint Nocturne was not built for that. Dre fed bills into the vending machine to test it. You should probably apologize. To who? Dre stopped. Slowly, he turned his head. Caleb lifted both hands. I mean, obviously, both. I just meant first. Dre stared at him long enough to make the answer feel spiritual. Then he said, start with God and work your way down. Caleb's phone buzzed. He checked it and went pale. Talia, did you lie about where the bracelet came from? Then another buzz. Zora, bring the truth to Magnolia Hall by noon or I'll ask the bracelet. Caleb whispered, she wouldn't. The vending machine lights flickered. The bracelet, miles away in Zora's hand, gave a faint golden pulse. Dre picked up the empty cardboard box and stepped back. She would. Near the athletic complex, Imani Cross stood in the women's locker room staring at her grandfather's jacket like it was a live animal. It hung from the end of her locker, black leather worn soft at the shoulders, the Howl House crescent stitched over the heart. The jacket had fit Taj badly. It had fought him, embarrassed him, humiliated him in front of freshmen and half the university. On Imani, it had settled like recognition. That should have felt good. Instead, it felt like a countdown. Kiki sat on the bench behind her, legs crossed, eating grapes from a plastic container. I'm not saying wear it to breakfast, Kiki said, but if you wore it to breakfast, I would support you. Imani did not turn. That would be petty. Yes. Taj would make it a thing. Taj made outerwear a succession crisis. The thing been made. Imani touched the sleeve. The leather warmed under her fingers. My grandma is going to hear about this. Your grandma probably knew before it happened. That was true. Marva Cross had a way of knowing things before phones did. Kiki popped another grape into her mouth. My auntie texted me at 3 in the morning talking about, tell Imani the ancestors saw. I said, Auntie, I'm trying to take my lashes off. Imani finally smiled, but it faded quickly. Taj leaked that post. Obviously. He knows something. Kiki's chewing slowed. About what? Imani turned around. The locker room was empty except for them, but Saint Nocturne had a talent for eavesdropping through vents, pipes, mirrors, wet floor signs, and overly curious ghosts. She lowered her voice anyway. At the mixer last semester, I helped Malik. Kiki frowned. Helped him how? He got jumped behind Holloway Gym by 2 wolves from the East Ward pack. They thought he was feeding on one of theirs. He wasn't. Not then, at least. Kiki blinked. You protected Bloodcourt from wolves. I protected somebody outnumbered. Imani. I know. No, do you? Because Taj doesn't need details. All he needs is the shape of that story. He can make it sound like you chose fangs over fur. Imani's jaw tightened. That's what he's doing. Kiki set the grapes aside. Does Malik know Taj knows? Malik barely admits weather exists if it inconveniences him. You need to tell him. I don't need Malik for pack business. No, but if Taj has a witness or a recording or some blood court receipt, you need to know before he drops it during something public. Imani looked at the jacket again. The sleeve twitched. Kiki pointed. Also, your jacket got opinions. Before Imani could answer, the locker room doors slammed open. Rome Ellis stumbled in, breathing hard, eyes wide. Kiki stared. This is the women's locker room. Rome looked around, horrified. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know where else to go. Imani stepped toward him. Rome, what happened? He held out his phone with shaking hands. The screen showed a message from an unknown number. Ask Imani what happens to wolves who protect vampires. Under it was a photo. Blurry, dark, taken from behind the old gym. Imani standing between Malik and two wolves. Kiki stood up. Damn, she said quietly. Rome swallowed. It got sent to the freshman Howl House group chat. Imani closed her eyes. The jacket fell from the locker and landed at her feet. This time, it did not move toward her. It waited. By late morning, the city of Ashborne had started getting involved. Not officially. Officially, the Blood Moon Mixer was a private campus event with minor magical disturbances. Officially, the South Bathroom Mirror was an enchanted object under review. Officially, the university had everything under control. Unofficially, half the city had seen the clips. Ashborne loved Saint Nocturne the way people loved reality shows they claimed were beneath them. The university brought money, students, jobs, famous alumni, and supernatural trouble that occasionally spilled into traffic. Local radio stations were already joking about it. At Maxine's Candle and Conjure, 2 miles from campus in the old Ashborne Market District, Auntie Maxine Baptiste listened to a morning host ask whether these college witches needed more discipline or less Wi-Fi while she restocked black salt behind the counter. The shop smelled like rosemary, wax, Florida water, coffee, and old wood. Shelves lined the walls, crowded with candles, oils, beads, herbs, incense, books, jars, and little handwritten signs that said things like, "Do not open what you cannot close. Love oil is not a personality. No refunds on spells you used wrong." A line of students stretched from the counter to the door. Some had come for protection charms. Some had come for hangover tea. Some had come because they had been exposed the night before and suddenly remembered they believed in spiritual cleansing. Maxine wore a purple head wrap, gold hoops, and a long cardigan with pockets deep enough to hide either candy or consequences. A student placed a cracked amethyst on the counter. "Can you tell if my boyfriend cheated?" Maxine picked up the stone, looked at it, then at the girl. "You already know." The girl's face crumpled. "But can the crystal confirm?" "The crystal is tired." Behind her, another student whispered, "Ask about the mirror." Maxine did not look up. "Ask about your tuition balance. That's the real haunting." The line went quiet. The bell above the door rang. Zora came in with 7 behind her. Maxine looked over the student line, spotted her niece, and immediately frowned. "Oh, you brought a problem with legs." 7 touched his chest. "Good morning, Ms. Maxine." "Don't good morning me. Last time you came in here, my locked cabinet started humming. I was browsing. You were trespassing with your eyes." Zora walked to the counter and placed the bracelet down. The whole shop reacted. Not the people. The shop. A row of red candles leaned away. The bell above the door rang once though nobody had entered. Somewhere near the back, a jar lid popped. Maxine stared at the bracelet. Then she turned the sign on the counter from open to come back with better sense. The students groaned. Maxine lifted one eyebrow. They left. Quickly. When the door shut, Maxine picked up the bracelet using a pair of silver tongs from beneath the counter. 7 leaned closer. Maxine snapped, "Back up before it learns your name." He backed up. Zora folded her arms. "What is it?" Maxine held the bracelet under the light. "Where did you get this?" Caleb gave it to me last semester. Claimed his aunt gave it to him. Then he gave it to my roommate after we broke up. Claimed I gave it back with emotional maturity. Maxine made a noise of disgust. 7 nodded. That was also my reaction. Maxine turned the bracelet over. A tiny symbol had been etched inside the clasp. Almost invisible. A thorned crown wrapped around a root. Zora's stomach tightened. Blood cord and root circle, she said. Not just any blood cord, Maxine murmured. 7's eyes sharpened. Saint Crowne. Maxine did not answer. That was answer enough. Zora's voice lowered. Why would Caleb have a Saint Crowne linked charm? Because Caleb is stupid, but not important enough to be original. Maxine placed the bracelet inside a small iron bowl. This was passed through him. By who? The bracelet pulsed. The radio behind the counter switched stations by itself. Static. Then a voice came through, low and warped. Lineage contact confirmed. Zora stepped back. 7 whispered, that sounds like the mirror. Maxine slammed her palm over the radio and muttered a word that made the lights dim. The static stopped. For the first time since Zora had entered, her aunt looked worried. Not irritated. Not suspicious. Worried. Zora, Maxine said, who touched this bracelet last night? Me, Talia. Caleb before that. Who was near it when the glamour dropped? Everyone. Names. Zora thought. Talia was by Caleb. I was across the courtyard. 7 was with me. Malik was near Blood Court. Serafina. Camille. Nasir Voss was near the bar. Maxine's face went still. There it was. A tiny shift. A secret recognizing its own shadow. 7 saw it too. You know Nasir? I know of a child who should have had a different life. Zora stared at her. What does that mean? It means Saint Nocturne is pulling old threads. Auntie. Maxine set the tongs down. You stay away from Dean Nightingale. That was not what I asked. That was what you needed. 7 laughed once, without humor. Nobody ever says stay away from a person unless the person is exactly where the answers are. Maxine turned to him. And nobody ever gets expelled this early unless they confuse curiosity with destiny. 7's expression shuddered. Zora noticed. Maxine did too, but she did not soften. The shop bell rang again. This time, it was Malik St. Crowne. He stepped inside wearing black slacks, a cream sweater, and the exhausted politeness of a rich boy who had received 6 family calls before noon. His eyes moved from Maxine to Zora to 7 to the iron bowl. Then he saw the symbol on the bracelet. His face gave away nothing. His silence gave away plenty. Zora smiled. Not kindly. Look at that, she said. The bracelet invited everybody. Malik shut the door behind him. We need to talk. Maxine reached under the counter and picked up a wooden spoon. Malik looked at it. Is that necessary? For me? No. For my mood? Yes. 7 glanced at the spoon. Is it enchanted? Maxine did not take her eyes off Malik. Everything in here has choices. Malik lifted both hands slightly. I didn't come to fight. Zora leaned against the counter. You came because my cousin is asking about Nasir, my mother is pretending not to, and Dean Nightingale called me personally this morning to ask whether I had any unusual interactions last night. 7 muttered, "That man is allergic to casual phone calls." Malik looked at the iron bowl. "Where did you get that?" "Caleb," Zora said. "Who?" "Exactly." Malik's jaw tightened. "That charm has my family's private mark." Maxine tapped the spoon against the counter once. The sound cracked like a slap. "Your family's mark," she said, "wrapped around root work." Malik looked at her. "I don't know why." Zora laughed softly. "You don't know a lot when your family's involved." "That's fair." His honesty irritated her more than denial would have. He turned to her fully. "But I'm telling you, Zora. Whatever this is, it's bigger than me." "Oh, now it's bigger than you." "I didn't make the charm." "But you recognized it?" "Yes. And didn't say that last night." "I recognized it 10 seconds ago." "Convenient." 7, who had been studying Malik's face like an exam question, said, "He's telling the truth." Zora turned. "Did I ask you to read him?" "No." "That's why it was free." Malik's eyes narrowed. "You read me?" "Barely." "Your guilt is loud." Before Malik could respond, every jar in the shop rattled. The lights flickered. The bracelet rose from the iron bowl. Maxine cursed under her breath and reached for it, but the charm snapped open midair and projected a thin ribbon of gold light across the shop. Not images this time. Names. They appeared one after another, written in light. Caleb Mercer. Talia Price. Zora Baptiste. Malik St. Crowne. The light stuttered. The next name appeared slowly. Nasir Voss. Then the letters twisted. The gold darkened. A final name burned into the air so bright the shop windows cracked. Lucienne Nightingale. The bracelet dropped into the bowl. For several seconds, no one spoke. Outside, Ashborne traffic moved past the shop windows. A bus hissed at the corner. Someone laughed on the sidewalk. A festival banner for the upcoming Ashborne night market flapped from a streetlight, bright purple and gold against the grey morning. Inside Maxine's shop, the air felt too old. Zora looked at Malik. Malik looked at Maxine. 7 looked like he had just found a door and forgotten every warning about locks. Maxine picked up the iron bowl and carried it toward the back room. Zora followed. Her aunt turned. "No. Auntie." "No. That charm said my name." "It says a lot of names." "It said Nightingale." Maxine's voice dropped. "And that is why you are not following me." Malik stepped forward. "Ms. Maxine, if my family is involved." She rounded on him. "Your family is always involved." "That is not a revelation. That is weather." His mouth closed. 7, very softly, said, "What is the Nightingale file?" Maxine's face changed again. This time, she looked at all 3 of them as if they had already stepped onto a bridge that was burning from both ends. "A grave with paperwork," she said. Then she disappeared behind the beaded curtain, and the curtain locked itself into a wall. Back on campus, Brielle Laurent was receiving the kind of silence that felt expensive. It started in the dining hall. Normally, when Brielle walked in, people looked. Some waved. Some pretended not to wave until she waved first. Some whispered because whispering was a form of currency and Brielle had always been good for inflation. Today, people looked and looked away. That was worse. She entered wearing oversized sunglasses, a cropped jacket, and the expression of someone who had already decided everybody else was the problem. Her purse hung at her side. The burner phone inside had been turned off twice, wrapped in a scarf, and buried under lip gloss. It still felt like it was buzzing. André Voss sat at a round table near the windows with two blood court boys, a Veilborn dancer, and a girl Brielle did not know but immediately disliked because she was laughing too hard at something André said. Brielle walked over. André glanced up. "Morning, songbird. Don't call me that today." "Oh. Weather advisory." The girl beside him giggled. Brielle took off her sunglasses and looked at her. The girl stopped. André leaned back. "You eating?" "I need your speakers." "My speakers need boundaries." "Did they record the south bathroom audio?" His smile thinned. "Why would you ask me that in public?" "Because if I asked in private, you'd flirt before lying." The blood court boys at the table pretended to check their phones. André's eyes moved over her face. "You nervous?" "No. Your left shell is clicking faster than your right one." Brielle reached up and stilled the gold shells in her braids. André's smile returned, smaller. "There she is." She leaned down, voice low enough that only he could hear. "Somebody used my voice last night." "You used your voice last night?" "No. Somebody layered something under it." "When I toasted, a confession spell was already waiting. It rode my note." André's amusement faded. He sat forward. "You sure?" "I know what my voice feels like when it makes people stupid." Last night felt crowded. That was the most honest thing she had said all morning. André studied her. For all his jokes and party boy performance, André Voss understood sound the way Root Circle students understood candles. His DJ booth was not just equipment. It was a net. His speakers heard magic, separated it, stored it, sold it if he felt unethical and bored. He tapped one finger against his cup. "My boards caught 3 layers, he said quietly. Siren note. Glamour collapse. Something old underneath. How old? Faculty old." Brielle swallowed. The girl beside André leaned in. "What are y'all talking about?" Brielle and André both turned to look at her. She sat back. André reached into his jacket and slid a small black drive across the table. Brielle covered it with her hand. "Don't play that near mirrors," he said. "Why?" "Because when I did, my bathroom sink asked me for tenure." Brielle slipped the drive into her purse. "Thank you. This doesn't mean I like you. You've always liked me. I like your chaos." "That is not the same." She put her sunglasses back on. "It's enough." As she turned to leave, André said, "Brielle." She looked over her shoulder. His face had gone serious in a way that made him look less charming and more dangerous. "If somebody copied your voice, they needed a clean sample." Her throat tightened. "A recording?" she asked. "Or permission?" Brielle thought of every contract she had signed without reading because performance opportunities came wrapped in compliments. Campus showcases. Donor galas. Blood court mixers. Veilborn culture nights where wealthy alumni smiled too wide and said her voice was a gift to the institution. Her phone buzzed. Not the burner. Her real one. A message from an unknown number. "Check your performance agreement from last spring." Brielle looked across the dining hall. Nobody obvious was watching. That meant everybody was. She left without eating. In Graves Hall, The Root Circle emergency meeting had begun before anyone arrived. That was how Root Circle worked. The argument existed first. People simply joined it. The lecture chamber was circular, with tiered wooden seats and a ritual floor in the center marked by brass lines. Portraits of past department heads hung between tall windows. Half of them looked proud. The other half looked like they had died mid-argument and remained committed. By noon, every seat was filled. Spell scholars in pressed jackets and polished shoes sat together with notebooks open, already prepared to cite regulations. Root workers filled the opposite side in bright colors, layered jewelry, beads, head wraps, boots, long nails, and expressions that said they had not come to be academically disrespected before lunch. Legacy families took the front rows. Scholarship students clustered near exits. Solo practitioners leaned against walls because joining a side too early was how people got drafted into nonsense. Professor Sana Graves stood at the center with both hands folded. Dr. Celeste Amari sat at the faculty table, looking composed despite the fact that everyone in the room had seen her invisible wedding mark flare the night before. That composure irritated people. The room buzzed with whispers. Is she really going to sit there? Her syllabus says ethical magical influence. Her syllabus also says attendance mandatory. People lie. Did you see the councilman's daughter? Girl, the cobbler was shaking in her hand. Delphine Hart rose from the front row. She wore a cream blouse, tailored trousers, and a necklace that probably cost more than Seven's meal plan. Her locks were pinned into a crown, because of course they were. Delphine never entered a room unless her silhouette supported her argument. Before we discuss the mirror, she said, we need to discuss contamination of Root Circle practice by unauthorized, unverified, and potentially fraudulent magic users. Several students groaned. 7, entering through the back with Zora and Malik, stopped walking. Zora muttered, she rehearsed that. 7 smiled without warmth. She uses perfume that smells like footnotes. Delphine turned her head, as if she had heard him from across the room. She probably had. Professor Graves lifted one hand. Ms. Hart, sit. Delphine did not sit. With respect, Professor, what happened last night involved layered spell work. That means someone with training, access, or both compromised a major university event. We cannot pretend the circle's internal standards are unrelated. A root worker named Jada called from the opposite side, here y'all go blaming scholarship witches before the ink dry. Delphine's eyes flashed. I did not say scholarship. You thought it in cursive. Laughter broke out. A spell scholar boy stood. This is exactly the issue. Emotional accusations instead of procedural clarity. An older student in waist beads leaned forward. Say emotional again and your tongue will learn percussion. Professor Graves closed her eyes briefly. Dr. Amari finally spoke. This meeting is not a street corner. The room went cold. A girl in the second row whispered, but your ring finger was. The chamber erupted. Professor Graves struck the floor once with her cane. Nobody had seen her bring a cane. The sound rang through the room, and every voice snapped shut. Enough, she said. Silence obeyed. Dr. Amari's jaw tightened. Professor Graves looked around the chamber. Last night's glamour collapse included root binding, blood court signature work, Veilborn vocal magic, and a memory suppression trace. Any one of those would be serious. Together, they are institutional. That word landed hard. Institutional meant bigger than students. Institutional meant funding. Institutional meant faculty. Institutional meant the university would try to bury it under policy language until everyone forgot why they were angry. Delphine lowered herself into her seat, but her eyes stayed on 7. Professor Graves continued. Until the source is identified, all Root Circle students are prohibited from unsanctioned investigative spell work. The chamber groaned. No mirror divination. No bloodline tracing. No memory fishing. No charm interrogation. No ancestral summoning for gossip. A student raised her hand. What about for safety? Fill out a form. The chamber groaned louder. Zora leaned toward 7. Nobody is filling out a form. Not a soul. Professor Graves' eyes cut to them. Mr. Monroe. Ms. Baptiste. Since your commentary is so urgent, perhaps you would like to share why your names were detected near unauthorized lineage work this morning. Zora went still. 7 did too. Malik, standing half a step behind them, looked up sharply. The room shifted. Delphine smiled. Zora stepped forward, because fear loved empty space and she refused to give it any. My ex gave me a charm linked to blood court and root work. It reacted last night. We took it to a professional. Professional? Delphine repeated. Is that what we're calling unlicensed folk practice now? Zora's smile appeared with teeth. My aunt has cleaned up more family curses than your family has plagiarized. The room screamed. Professor Graves struck the cane again. Delphine stood. That is slander. A root worker near the aisle said, only if it's false. 7 covered his mouth. Malik looked at the ceiling like he was praying for a version of himself that had stayed home. Dr. Amari watched Zora with narrowed eyes. Professor Graves' expression did not change, but a candle on the faculty table flickered like it enjoyed the comment. Ms. Baptiste, Professor Graves said, after this meeting, you will remain. Zora lifted her chin. Yes, Professor. Mr. Monroe as well. 7's smile died. And Mr. St. Crowne. The chamber turned again. Malik blinked. I'm not Root Circle. Professor Graves looked at him. Yet here you are. Someone whispered, OOP. Delphine's eyes moved from Malik to Zora and sharpened with fresh calculation. Zora could almost see the rumor forming. By 2 in the afternoon, it had formed teeth. The shade room below posted a photo of Zora, 7, and Malik entering Graves Hall together, cropped so closely that it looked intentional, intimate, and conspiratorial. Root Circle meeting got a blood court guest star. Zora Baptiste, 7 Monroe, and Malik St. Crowne walked in like a thesis on bad decisions. Serafina, you up? Serafina DuPont was up. She was also in her off-campus apartment in the Saint Nocturne Heights complex, sitting at a marble kitchen island while her cousin painted her nails blood red. The apartment was not really hers. Her parents owned it through a holding company that owned 3 floors of the building, which was exactly the kind of detail Serafina pretended not to know when people complained about housing. The windows overlooked the campus and, beyond it, the older Ashborne neighborhoods where rent had doubled in 5 years and every corner store was becoming a concept lounge. Her cousin, Yvette, blew gently on Serafina's nails. You're too calm. Serafina stared at the post. I am not calm. You look calm. I was raised. That's not the same. On the couch, another blood court girl scrolled through comments. People are saying Malik and Zora been sneaking around since last spring. Serafina's eyes lifted. The girl shut up. Yvette looked at the phone, then at Serafina. Has he? No. You sure? No. Yvette smiled. There we go. Serafina placed the phone face down on the counter. The screen buzzed against the marble. Once. Twice. Again. She flipped it over. A message from Camille. Do not react publicly. Malik is already unstable. Serafina laughed. It was a small, pretty sound with no joy in it. Yvette asked, what? Serafina stood and walked to the window. Below, students moved across campus in little clusters, carrying coffee, drama, and debt. A protest table had appeared near the main walkway, covered in signs about the upcoming tuition increase. No more blood money fees. Housing is a right, not a donor perk. Saint Nocturne can afford new statues but not safe dorms. Serafina watched a scholarship student tape a sign crookedly to the table while two vampire legacy boys laughed nearby. What are you doing? Yvette asked. Serafina picked up her coat. I'm going to react privately in a public location. That sounds like a scene. Serafina smiled. Good. I was raised for those two. The protest table outside Lazarus Walk started as 6 students and a bullhorn. By 3, it had turned into a crowd. The tuition hike had been announced Friday afternoon, because cowards loved weekends. Officially, the increase was due to ward maintenance, campus safety improvements, and inflation-related operational strain. Unofficially, everyone knew Saint Nocturne had spent $500,000 restoring a donor crypt and installing imported marble in the Blood Court Alumni Lounge. The housing crisis made it worse. Saint Nocturne Heights had raised rent again. Auntie Maxine's block had 3 new eviction notices. The old barbershop near campus had been bought by a vampire development firm and was being turned into a members-only nightclub called the Vein Room, which everyone agreed was tasteless even for vampires. 7 passed the protest with Zora and Malik after leaving Graves Hall, still irritated from Professor Graves' questioning. She had asked careful questions. Too careful. Where did the bracelet come from? Who touched it? What names appeared? Did any of them speak to Dean Nightingale privately? Did 7 recognize the phrase Nightingale file? Why had Malik entered Maxine's shop? Was Zora aware that Baptiste-style work had appeared in the mirror hex? Zora had answered just enough to be truthful without being useful. 7 had lied badly once, recovered, then lied better. Malik had answered like someone trained by lawyers before puberty. Professor Graves had listened, dismissed them, then told Zora to avoid family history dressed as emergency. That sentence had been bothering Zora ever since. At the protest table, Lila Freeman stood on a bench with a megaphone. Saint Nocturne cannot claim tradition when tradition is pricing students out of housing, she called. They cannot claim safety when students are losing memories at university events. They cannot charge us protection fees while protecting donors from consequences. The crowd cheered. A blood court boy near the back said, then transfer. Dre Coleman, standing beside the table with a stack of flyers, turned his head. Say it louder. I don't think your trust fund heard you. The crowd made a sound. The blood court boy flushed. Malik slowed. Zora noticed. That your cousin? No. Your bloodline? Probably. Embarrassing. Frequently. 7 took a flyer from Dre. Do these fees include archive access? Dre stared at him. That's your protest angle. I contain multitudes. Zora snatched the flyer from 7 and read it. The numbers were worse than she expected. Not for Malik, who probably thought financial aid was a building. For everyone else. Mandatory ward fee. Supernatural safety fee. Housing stabilization fee. Heritage preservation fee. Emergency mirror containment assessment. She stopped at that one. They're charging us for the mirror, she said. Dre nodded. $28 each. The mirror traumatized people and sent a bill. Welcome to higher education. Lila climbed down from the bench and spotted Zora. You were in Graves Hall. People keep saying that like it has a scent. It does when Malik St. Crowne walks in behind you. Malik said, I was invited. Lila looked at him. By who? Circumstance. Dre snorted. Seven glanced toward the crowd. You investigating the mirror? I'm investigating everything. That sounds healthy. It's not. Lila took her phone out. Did any of you know Nia Bellamy before last night? Zora frowned. No. Malik shook his head. Seven hesitated. Lila caught it immediately. You did. I had a class with her. Magical ethics. Big lecture. With Amari. Yes. Zora looked at him. You didn't say that. It wasn't relevant until the mirror accused half the faculty of being villains. Lila typed something. Did Nia ever mention missing time before? Seven's expression changed. There was the memory arriving. Not dramatic. Not lightning. Just an ugly little piece clicking into place. She asked Dr. Amari about consent and memory charms during a lecture, he said. Amari gave a textbook answer. Nia asked what happens when the person using the charm has institutional authority. Lila stopped typing. Zora's skin prickled. Malik looked toward the main building. What did Amari say? Lila asked. Seven swallowed. She said hypotheticals are often shields for accusations students aren't prepared to defend. Dre muttered, that's nasty. Lila's phone buzzed. Then Zora's. Then Seven's. Then every phone in the protest crowd. The shade room below again. Breaking, tuition protest now has memory charm testimony. Also, why was Dr. Amari so weird in ethics last semester? Students, check your syllabi and your recollections. Lila went still. She had not posted that. Neither had Brielle, who at that exact moment was sitting alone in a practice room in the music building with Andre's black drive plugged into an old university laptop. The audio file showed 3 tracks. Andre had labeled them. Brielle live vocal. Glamour peel. Unknown faculty underlayer. Brielle played the first track. Her own voice filled the room, warm and teasing. To old friends. To new lies. She stopped it quickly. Hearing herself like that made her skin crawl. She played the second track. The glamour collapse sounded like fabric ripping underwater. She played the third. At first, there was only static. Then a low hum. Then words beneath the hum, not spoken exactly, more like pressed into the air. Open the room. Soften the will. Preserve the witness. Bury the edge. Brielle's throat went dry. She replayed it. This time, another sound emerged. A second voice. A woman's voice. Familiar. Not Amari. Not Graves. Brielle leaned closer. The practice room door opened behind her. She slammed the laptop shut. Juno Price stood in the doorway wearing a cropped silver jacket, oversized jeans, and a face that was almost their own. Almost, because Juno's features shifted by mood. Today their cheekbones were sharper than usual, their eyes a little too wide, like they had borrowed surprise from somebody else and forgotten to return it. Brielle exhaled. "Do you knock?" "On doors, yes. On tension, no. What do you want?" Juno stepped inside and shut the door. "You're being blamed." "For what?" Juno gave her a look. "Pick a category." Brielle reopened the laptop halfway, then thought better of it. "I'm busy." "You always say that when you're scared." "I'm never scared." Your voice cracked at brunch. Brielle looked up sharply. "You were there." "I was a fern." Brielle stared. Juno shrugged. "People talk near plants." "Were you actually a fern or are you being annoying?" "Yes." Brielle rubbed her temples. "I cannot do you today." Juno sat on top of the piano bench. "Somebody hired me last night." Brielle stilled. "To do what?" "To be seen." "That is vague even for you." "At the mixer," Juno said. "Someone paid me to look like someone else for 10 minutes near the south hallway." Brielle's heartbeat picked up. "Who?" "I don't know. The arrangement came through a third party." "You impersonated somebody without knowing why." Juno tilted their head. "You run a gossip page and want to discuss ethics." Brielle's face went cold. Juno smiled slightly. "There she is." "I don't run it." "Not alone." Brielle stood. "Get out." "I looked like you." The room went still. The words hung there, ugly and bright. Brielle sat back down slowly. Juno's smile vanished. "For 10 minutes, they said. Green dress. Gold shells. Your face. Your voice, not perfect, but enough in a crowd. I thought it was for some petty jealous thing. A party alibi. A little influencer sabotage." Brielle could barely hear over the blood rushing in her ears. "When?" Juno looked away. "During your toast." Brielle whispered, "No. I was told to walk toward the south hall, speak to a girl in yellow, and tell her she was needed upstairs." "Nia." "I didn't know her name." "You didn't ask." Juno flinched. For once, they did not have a clever answer. Brielle stood so quickly the chair scraped. "Do you understand what you did?" "I understand now." "No, you understand that people might blame you." "That's different." Juno rose too. "I came to tell you." After the mirror screamed. After the shade room started eating my name. After Nia stood in a hallway shaking. Juno's face flickered, their features briefly shifting into someone older, someone tired, before snapping back. "I said I came." Brielle laughed once. It was sharp enough to hurt her own throat. "Who paid you?" "I don't know." "Find out." Brielle. "Find out, or I will make sure everyone knows you wore my face while something happened to that girl." Juno stared at her. For once, the shapeshifter looked completely like themselves. "That sounds like a threat." Brielle stepped closer. "It's a gift." A threat would have harmony. By sunset, Saint Nocturne had become unbearable. The rumor about Juno had not gone public, but the campus did not need facts to rot. It had enough material from the night before to run on fumes. In Magnolia Hall, Talia refused to leave her room because people kept asking to see her wrist. Caleb arrived at noon with flowers, apologies, and 3 different versions of where the bracelet came from. Zora had not been there, So Talia made him stand in the hallway while half the floor watched. By 1, someone had started a live stream titled Bracelet Boy Accountability Walk. By 2, Talia threw the flowers at him. By 3, Caleb admitted a blood court girl had given him the bracelet at a party last semester and told him it would make women understand his intentions. That answer was so stupid several people believed it immediately. Zora heard the update from Talia by text and forwarded it to Malik with no commentary. Malik responded. "Who was the girl?" Zora sent back. "Find out from your haunted country club." He did not reply. At 5, Imani met Malik behind Holloway Gym. Not because she wanted to. Because he texted first. "Taj has the photo. We should talk." The alley behind the gym smelled like old rain, rubber, and the faint metallic tang of wards embedded in the brick. It was where athletes came to throw up after bad practices, couples came to argue privately in public, and people with faction problems came when they did not want campus cameras involved. Malik stood beneath a flickering security light, hands in his pockets. Imani arrived wearing the jacket. His eyes dropped to it. "Congratulations," he said. "Don't." "Understood." She stopped several feet away. "Did you tell anyone about last spring?" "No." "Did your people?" "My people barely admit I was there." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Imani hated that she believed him. Malik looked tired in a way rich boys usually paid dermatologists to hide. There were faint shadows beneath his eyes. His crest ring sat dark on his finger. "Taj sent it to freshman group chat," she said. "I heard." "From who?" "Everybody. Saint Nocturne has the privacy of a glass bathroom." She folded her arms. "He's trying to make me look disloyal. And me look weak. This isn't about you. It is to Blood Court. Then tell Blood Court to find hobbies." Malik almost smiled. "I'll bring it up at the next evil brunch." Imani looked away, jaw working. The worst part was not the photo. The worst part was that the photo removed the reason. It showed the shape of betrayal without the truth inside it. It showed her standing between Malik and wolves, but not the East Ward boys circling him with silver thread rope. It did not show one of them laughing about making Blood Court pay for something Malik had not done. It did not show Imani choosing fairness over politics. It showed what Taj needed it to show. Malik's voice softened. "I can make a statement." "No." "Imani." "No. You defending me makes it worse." "Then what do you need?" She looked at him. It was such a simple question that it almost made her angrier. "I need to know if Blood Court is about to use me as a distraction." His face shifted. "There." She stepped closer. "What?" Malik looked toward the end of the alley. The mirror voice. "Nasir. The bracelet. Nia's memory. It all points close to my family." "How close?" "Camille." Imani let out a humorless laugh. "Your cousin with the funeral outfits. She handles cleanup." "Cleanup like lawyers or cleanup like bodies?" Malik did not answer fast enough. Imani stared at him. "I hate this school. That's one thing we all agree on." The security light above them went out. Both of them went still. From the darkness near the dumpsters, someone said, "Touching." Taj stepped into view with two Howl House seniors behind him. Malik sighed. "This is a private alley." Taj smiled. "On a campus my pack protects." Imani's eyes flashed. "Your pack?" "For now." The two seniors shifted uneasily, but they did not correct him. Taj looked between Imani and Malik. You make this too easy. You followed me. You met Blood Court behind the gym after being accused of protecting Blood Court behind the gym. At some point, cousin, the jokes write themselves. Malik stepped forward. This is between crosses. Taj looked at him. Then why are you here? Imani moved before Malik could answer, putting herself between them again, and realized too late that Taj had wanted exactly that. His smile widened. There it is, he said. A phone camera flashed from somewhere above. Imani looked up. Rome stood on the fire escape, pale and horrified, phone in hand. He stammered. Taj told me to record if I didn't. The phone was not pointing at them anymore. It was floating. Someone else had taken control of it. The screen lit red. A post uploaded by itself. Howl House exclusive, Imani Cross caught meeting Malik St Crowne behind Holloway Gym again. Taj Cross says pattern. Imani says. Imani lunged for Taj. The seniors grabbed her. The jacket roared. Not growled. Roared. The sound shook the alley windows and sent one of the seniors stumbling back. Malik moved toward Imani, then stopped himself. Smart. For once. Taj backed away, still smiling, but fear had finally entered his scent. Careful, he said. You lose control on camera, it won't matter why. Imani's claws pressed against her palms. The wolf wanted out. The girl held the door shut with both hands. Say one more thing, she whispered. Taj's smile twitched. Then his phone buzzed. All their phones did. The shade room below had updated the post. A second image appeared. Not from the alley. From last spring. A clearer angle of the same night behind Holloway Gym. This one showed the East Ward wolves holding silver thread rope. It showed Malik cornered. It showed Imani stepping in before anyone touched him. And below the image, a caption. Context is crazy when somebody else has receipts. Taj's face drained. Imani turned slowly toward Rome. Rome held both hands up, shaking. That wasn't me. Malik looked at the floating phone. Then toward the roofline. Someone was standing there. For 1 second, under the dying red sunset, they saw a figure in a hood holding another phone. Then the figure stepped backward and disappeared. At the same time, in Dean Nightingale's office at the top of the main building, a candle went out by itself. The office was older than the university catalog admitted. Dark wood, tall shelves, velvet chairs, portraits with eyes that tracked visitors, and a massive window overlooking campus. Ashborne stretched beyond the gates, all evening traffic, festival banners, old neighborhoods, rising towers, and storm clouds rolling in from the south. Dean Lucien Nightingale sat behind his desk, reading 3 reports at once. The first was from campus security about the mirror. The second was from the Root Circle department about unauthorized lineage work. The third was a donor complaint from Serafina's mother about Malik's public instability. He signed the donor response without reading past the second paragraph. A knock came at the door. Enter, he said. Camille St. Crowne walked in. Ivory again, this time with black gloves. Lucien looked up. You're becoming predictable. Camille smiled. Only to people who mistake consistency for limitation. Your family is agitated. My family is always agitated. We call it legacy. She sat without being invited. Lucien set down his pen. The mirror spoke. I heard. It used my voice. Unfortunate. It referenced Nasir. More unfortunate. It exposed a phrase from a sealed operation. Camille's smile thinned. Then perhaps your sealed operations need better mirrors. Lucien watched her. The room temperature dropped by several degrees. Outside, a bird struck the window, then flew away unharmed but offended. You were assigned containment, Lucien said. And the situation remains contained. The entire campus is discussing it. The campus discusses everything. By tomorrow, they'll be distracted by a pregnancy rumor, a fight in the dining hall, or some root circle girl turning her roommate's hair blue. Lucien leaned back. You underestimate them. I underestimate students as a matter of principle. That is why you keep failing to understand what makes them dangerous. Camille removed one glove finger by finger. Students are only dangerous when adults leave tools unattended. Lucien's eyes went to her bare hand. A faint mark pulsed near her wrist. Not a bite. Not a charm. A memory seal. His expression changed just enough for Camille to notice. She smiled. You see? Predictable. Did you use Brielle Laurent's voice? No. Did you arrange for it to be copied? I arranged for confusion. That is not a denial. It was not meant to be. Lucien stood. The portraits on the walls lowered their painted eyes. Nasir is not to be touched without my authorization. Camille's smile vanished. There it is, she said softly. The fondness. The asset. No. Assets do not make you careless. Lucien looked out the window toward campus. Below, students swarmed around fresh scandals like bees around spilled sugar. The protest was still going. The mirror was still guarded. The factions were already blaming one another. The university breathed under his feet, awake and restless. Saint Nocturne is opening old doors, he said. Camille rose. Then close them. It is not that simple. It never is with men who enjoy secrets more than solutions. He turned back to her. For a moment, his face looked almost human. Then it passed. You will bring me the source of the leak, he said. Camille put her glove back on. Which leak? All of them. She laughed softly. Lucien, darling, this campus is a cracked pipe. Then start with the shade room below. Camille opened the door. Before leaving, she looked back. And if the source is the school itself? Lucien did not answer. That was the first thing that scared her all day. Night fell hard over Saint Nocturne. The campus lights came on one by one, gold against the deepening blue. Students moved in clusters now, less eager to be alone. The south bathroom remained sealed. The faceless statues watched the courtyard. The protest table had become a candlelight gathering. Someone played drums near the student union. Someone else led a chant about housing fees while a blood court legacy tried to explain that donors were complicated. Nobody listened. In Magnolia Hall, Zora returned to her room and found Talia sitting on the floor outside their suite. Her makeup was gone. Her eyes were red. The bracelet had left a faint gold mark around her wrist. Zora stopped. For a second, neither of them spoke. Then Talia said, I didn't know. Zora leaned against the wall. I know. I liked him. I mean, not enough for all this, obviously. But I liked him. That's unfortunate. Talia gave a wet laugh. You are so bad at comfort. I'm better at revenge. I noticed. Zora slid down the wall and sat beside her. The hallway smelled like somebody's burnt popcorn and lavender floor cleaner. Down the hall, girls were laughing too loudly in a room with the door cracked open. Somewhere above them, a toilet flushed and screamed, which meant Magnolia's plumbing spirits were active again. Talia wiped her cheek. People keep calling me bracelet girl. That'll fade. When somebody gets pregnant, possessed, or caught lying on a scholarship application. Talia looked at her. Zora shrugged. By Thursday. Talia laughed again, despite herself. Then her face grew serious. Zora, when that bracelet was on me, I had dreams. Zora turned her head. What kind of dreams? I thought they were stress dreams. But it was always the same. A baby crying somewhere dark. A man saying, not this one. A woman singing. And roots growing through a marble floor. Zora's breath slowed. Talia looked at her wrist. Last night, when the glamour dropped, I heard a name. Whose? Talia swallowed. Nasir. Across campus, Nasir Voss stood in the old chapel alone. The chapel had not been used for regular services in years, but the university kept it polished for ceremonies, donor weddings, memorials, and the kind of meetings people had when conference rooms felt too honest. Moonlight came through stained glass windows in red and violet. Dust floated in the air like ash. Nasir did not know why he had come. That was a lie. He had come because the mirror's voice had followed him all day. If Nasir remembers, everyone loses. The problem was not that he remembered. The problem was that he almost did. Little pieces had been scratching at him since the party. A cold hand on his forehead. A woman crying. The smell of candle wax. A man's voice, smooth and patient, telling someone to cut the light. A door beneath a door. His phone had not stopped buzzing, so he had turned it off. That had made the silence worse. He walked toward the front of the chapel. The altar was covered by a white cloth. On top sat an old university crest, tarnished silver, its edges dark with age. Nasir reached out. The moment his fingers touched the crest, the floor beneath the altar clicked. He stepped back. A seam appeared in the marble. Thin at first. Then widening. A staircase descended into darkness beneath the chapel. Nasir stared at it. Every reasonable part of him said leave. Every wounded part said finally. Behind him, the chapel doors opened. He turned. Sola Vega stood in the doorway with her sketchbook tucked beneath one arm. Her eyes moved from Nasir to the open staircase. Oh, she said. You found the mouth. Nasir's voice was quiet. Did you know this was here? Sola walked in slowly. I painted it last year. That's not an answer. It is at this school. He looked back at the stairs. What's down there? Sola opened her sketchbook and flipped to a page. The painting showed a hallway beneath the chapel, lined with black roots and red candles. At the far end stood a mirror shaped like a coffin. In front of it, Nasir knelt with blood on his hands. Not a lot. Enough. Beside him stood 6 shadowed figures. One wore Zora's gold hair sticks. One wore Malik's crest ring. One wore Imani's inherited jacket. One wore Seven's crooked jacket. One wore Brielle's gold shells. One had no face at all. Nasir stared. Sola said, you should not go down there alone. Are you offering to come with me? No. Then what are you offering? A warning. He almost laughed. Everybody keeps warning me. Good. That means some people want you alive. The staircase breathed cold air into the chapel. From somewhere below, a voice whispered. Not Dean Nightingale's. Not any voice Nasir knew. A child's voice. You came back. Nasir stepped toward the stairs. Sola grabbed his wrist. The contact flashed through him. For 1 second, he saw the chapel filled with people in old-fashioned formal clothes. Vampires in black. Root circle elders in white. Werewolves with silver collars. Veilborn singers with covered mouths. A baby wrapped in red cloth. A woman screaming silently while a man with nightingale eyes signed a document in blood. Then the vision broke. Nasir ripped his wrist away, breathing hard. Sola looked shaken too. What was that? He asked. Sola's voice was barely above a whisper. Not the future. The chapel doors slammed shut by themselves. Every candle in the room lit at once. Nasir's phone, though powered off, buzzed in his pocket. Then Sola's. Then every phone across campus. The shade room below posted a single photo. It was not from the courtyard. Not from the dining hall. Not from the protest. It was a picture of the open staircase beneath the chapel, taken from behind Nasir and Sola. The caption read: The university has a basement it doesn't put on the tour. And Nasir Voss just opened it.